further debate, I recognize the member from Kiiwetinoong.
Madam Speaker, it was here last week when I learned about the motion from the member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston to create a standing committee on Indigenous relations in Ontario. The member tabled this motion with the intention of creating this committee to investigate matters related to Indigenous affairs, to address complaints, and also to provide recommendations on Indigenous policy. For me, I see the timing of this motion as interesting. If a member had a genuine interest in helping to resolve Indigenous issues, then I could support this motion. One of the things I'm hearing too is, our First Nations, our Indigenous people. I like to say that you do not own us. You do not own Indigenous people. The member had, one of the things I want to mention is that the member has made some comments about Indigenous communities in the past that make me doubt his understanding of Indigenous issues. It always makes me think about when non-Indigenous people have this opinion that the Indian Act should be abolished. Indigenous issues will be solved by Indigenous people. Solutions to Indigenous issues should always be Indigenous-led. But we thank the member for his concern. In February of this year, the member called for an end to the Indian Act. The Indian Act is at its foundation flawed and colonial, but often calls for its end are motivated by the erasure of First Nations as distinct peoples. But more significantly, as a way for the Crown to end its treaty responsibilities, as well to open up reserve and traditional territories for heavy commercial and real estate development. For this committee to be effective, it must work to resolve Indigenous and Crown interests. I'm concerned that no Indigenous consultation was done in consideration for this motion. This has become a common theme in this place. This week, Chief Leo Matadawabin of Fort Albany stated that we will not consent to anything done with disregard for our inherent and treaty rights in response to the announcement made by the Ring of Fire development that affects Fort Albany's treaty territory. Also, in the same announcement, Chief Monias of Niskandaga First Nation said that you can expect opposition in Ontario if Ontario tries to put a shovel in the ground of our territory without our consent. Historically, consultation for development has always been done poorly in our communities. This is the same principle that has been applied in the creation of this motion. The days when proponents would come in our territories, treaty territories, and do whatever they want with a partnership is over. Changes in governance and policy will not happen without free, prior, and informed consent. Real solutions and change must be led and developed by First Nation communities. Will this committee really examine the complex issues, or would it be just another bureaucratic hurdle for our communities to jump over in order to get anything done? This leads me to believe and also to have concerns that the scope of this committee is limited, lacked any engagement with Indigenous members of this Parliament. Example, Ontario does not treat First Nations people, Indigenous people as partners. They treat us as stakeholders. But I can support this motion. But I have serious reservations about the mandate and the real purpose of this committee, given the motion's sponsor. Miigwech.